standing here in a giant culvert. I'm basically in I'm in the middle of a huge shopping center with giant national retail brands over here, over here, over here, and over there. But there in the middle of this is an island of wilderness, and I'm so excited to show you. There's raccoon tracks down here in the mud. This is one of the most extreme examples of animals thriving in an urban habitat. Look at this. This is a beaver pond. This area I'm in is less than an acre. It's mostly walled with 40-foot stone and concrete walls. And there's beavers living in here. How do they do that? Look at that. It's a beautiful beaver dam right behind me in the middle of this crazy shopping center. The interstate, you can hear it over there. How do the beavers do this? These are incredible animals. Let's check this out. Little beaver dam is only about 1.5 feet high, but it's made a nice little pond back here behind it. Here's an underwater passage, and they make these little paths where they come up out of the water. They swim up and then they pop up, and then they go under that fence right up there so they have access to food and wood on the other side. I'm trying to find where these beavers live. Beavers either build a giant pile of sticks where they have an underwater entrance, and that's the beaver lodge, or they have underground houses. I suspect here, because there's no big obvious lodge, I've found many of these, that they are in the bank. So what they do is they take a spot like this right here where there's a deep cut in the bank, and they have an underwater entrance that goes up, and then they have an underground living space. Here's some little beaver footprints. Here's where a beaver has gnawed off or sliced off this little stump for food or for building materials. I find that whenever I hang out in places like this, I find weird stuff. I mean, look at this. Here's a tire swing, and it's actually hung from a cable that I believe is a cable that's was used once to hold up power poles. It's like an aluminum cable. I have to ask myself, what kind of weirdo would be hanging out in a place like this? I mean, that's just weird. Here's barbed wire running through a very old, what looks like maybe a maple tree. Maybe there was an old farm standing here. Here's a bunch of what looks like raccoon poop on this log. Why do raccoons poop on logs? Giant culvert. I want to see what's through this culvert. Come on, let's go. So this is what I want to show you. This is like a secret garden to me. I love wild spaces, and right here, between two 50-foot concrete walls, there's a narrow strip of land. It's probably an acre total at most, and it's completely tucked away, completely hidden. No one ever comes down here. Let's see what we can find in here that's interesting. This big walnut tree tells me that this was the ground level for probably the last 40 years, 30 or 40 years. And so where we're standing right now, this was a field, and there's a stream running through it. And even in my memory, this was a giant field, and there is a beautiful old farmhouse way up on the hill looking down over this property. And now they've got over here about 20 feet of backfill, and over here almost 50 feet of backfill. And so they've basically buried this old farm in asphalt and in retail paradise. Not too many years ago, I'm sure there were cows grazing here. Look at this. This actually could be a beautiful pasture now. You could keep your goats in here. You don't need fences, just where the creek comes in and out. That's a crazy idea, but it's kind of tickling my fancy right now. Squirrels running and playing, fighting. So now I'm up here on the very top end of this little hidden land. What I think about when I see these places is a couple things. One, just how tenacious the natural world is and how full of life. The other thing I think about is that we have really dramatically changed the landscape of our country. We've changed the physical, geographical landscape, just in examples like this, but we've also changed kind of the landscape of our lives. And here, we've built these giant stores, literally on top of an old farm. We were given this, and we've built it by our economic demands, by the life that we grew up living. The historical norm, what is normal for thousands of years of history, is for people to live on the land and grow their food. So where am I going with all this? I really don't know. I'm just amazed at this place, and I'm kind of in awe of how much we've changed the world. And I just think that it's important for us to remember like what our values are. And that doesn't mean I don't ever go to Walmart or go to Target, but it's important for us to remember what are our values, what do we want to build our life on? What do we want to build our life around? And what do we value in life? That's what I think of when I come to a place like this. Kind of funny, isn't it? All right, now to see if I can get out of this place, I'm gonna try to go up and see if I can pop out up here without making that same long walk I just made through basically a jungle of thorns and stuff. All right, I'm coming through the last culvert here, and I just had a weird realization about this being wilderness. I realized that I haven't told anyone I'm down here. I don't have my cell phone, and I was just climbing over this big rock and it shifted, and I realized if I fell down and got hurt here, I would probably be less likely to be found than if I was way out in the woods hiking on a trail, because nobody ever comes here. This is this is a very remote place. I don't even think homeless people come down here. I have seen very little evidence other than the tire swing. There's no camps in here. This is just a weird, obscure, lonely place. And I think it would be a perfect place for a permaculture experiment, strangely enough. You know, why are we trying to get people to survive on Mars? Why don't we see if we can get people to survive in a giant ditch between two huge stores? Anyway, just a fun idea.